The night Adrian Cross walked into Selena Vaughn's office and found America's most powerful billionaire sobbing into her hands. He had exactly $12 in his wallet and a daughter waiting at home who needed new shoes. He should have turned around, should have pretended he never saw the woman who signed his paychecks falling apart like something fragile and human. But Adrian had never been good at walking away from people who were breaking, not after watching his wife die slowly, not after raising Lily alone through every nightmare that followed. So he stayed. And that single moment of stupid, reckless kindness set off a chain reaction that would destroy everything Selena thought she knew about power, tear Adrian's quiet life to pieces, and prove that the most dangerous thing a billionaire can do is let someone see her cry. If you're watching, hit that like button right now and drop a comment with your city so I can see how far this story travels. Let's get into it. Adrian Cross was 32 years old, and his life had become a series of small, exhausting repetitions. Wake up at 5:30, make breakfast. Pack Lily's lunch, peanut butter again, because the grocery budget was stretched so thin he could see through it. Walk her to the bus stop 3 blocks away, even though she insisted she was old enough to go alone. Watch the bus pull away. Feel the same twist in his chest every single morning, the one that whispered, "What if something happens and you're not there?" Then the subway. The same car if he timed it right, the one that smelled like old coffee and someone's cologne. The walk from the station to the Vaughn Media Tower, 43 stories of steel and glass that reflected the sky so perfectly it looked like the building might disappear if you stared too long. Security checkpoint. Elevator to the 12th floor. Desk 12B, tucked between the copy room and a window that faced another building's brick wall. 8 hours of data entry, analytics reports, and emails that all said the same thing in slightly different words. Lunch at his desk. Leftovers if there were any, vending machine crackers if there weren't, then back on the subway. Pick up Lily from the after-school program, the one that cost $70 a week he didn't really have. Dinner. Homework. Bedtime stories that he'd memorized by now but still read because Lily's face lit up every time. Then the bills. The spreadsheet he kept on his phone that tracked every dollar, every late notice, every fee he couldn't quite cover. Sleep. Repeat. It wasn't a bad life. That was what Adrian told himself most days. Lily was healthy. They had a roof. He had a job. There were people with less. But some mornings, when he stood at that bus stop and watched his daughter's backpack disappear into the yellow doors, he felt like he was drowning in shallow water. Friday night, Adrian stayed late. It wasn't optional. The quarterly reports were due Monday, and someone had screwed up the raw data so badly it would take hours to untangle. Adrian's supervisor, a man named Derek, who wore ties that cost more than Adrian's rent, had dropped the project on his desk at 4:30 with a tight smile and said, "Need this fixed by morning. You're good with numbers, right?" Adrian was good with numbers. He was also good at keeping his mouth shut when someone handed him extra work without extra pay. By 9 p.m., the 12th floor was nearly empty. The overhead lights had switched to their after-hours dimness, and the building's hum had changed pitch, quieter, colder, like the place was exhaling. Adrian's eyes burned. His coffee had gone cold an hour ago. Lily was at Mrs. Cho's apartment downstairs, probably asleep on the couch by now, and he'd owe the older woman another favor he didn't know how to repay. He saved the file, closed his laptop, rubbed his face. That was when he heard it. A sound from somewhere above him. Faint, muffled by walls and distance, but unmistakable. Someone crying. Adrian sat very still, listening. The sound came again, raw, broken, the kind of crying that wasn't meant for anyone to hear. It was coming from upstairs, the executive floors. He should leave. That was the smart move. The building after dark wasn't his business. The people who worked on those floors lived in a different world, one with assistants and six-figure bonuses and problems Adrian couldn't begin to imagine. But the sound didn't stop. Adrian stood. He didn't think about it. That was the problem, really. He never thought about it. Not when his wife had gotten sick and the medical bills started piling up faster than he could count them. Not when she died and he had to explain to a 5-year-old why mommy wasn't coming home. Not when he kept going anyway because stopping wasn't an option. He took the stairs. The elevator would ping, would announce him. The stairs were silent. 14th floor. Empty. 15th. Dark except for the emergency lights. 16th. Executive row. Polished floors, glass-walled offices, furniture that looked like it belonged in a museum. And at the far end of the hall, light spilling from a half-open door. Adrian walked toward it. His sneakers didn't make a sound. The nameplate beside the door read, Selena Vaughan, Mikan, CEO. Adrian stopped breathing. Everyone knew Selena Vaughan. You didn't work at Vaughan Media without knowing her the way sailors knew storms, something powerful and distant and vaguely threatening. She was 30 years old and ran an empire. She'd inherited the company at 24 when her father died, and within 2 years she'd doubled its value. The business magazines called her a prodigy. The employees called her terrifying. Adrian had seen her exactly 3 times. Once in the lobby, moving through a crowd of people like a knife. Once in the elevator, surrounded by assistants who spoke in low, urgent voices while she stared at her phone with an expression that could freeze blood. Once through a glass wall during a meeting where she'd fired someone so efficiently the man had looked grateful. She didn't look terrifying now. Selena Vaughan sat behind her desk with her face in her hands, shoulders shaking, and the sound coming from her throat was the kind of crying that hurt to hear. Her jacket was on the floor. Her hair, always pulled back in a perfect knot, had come partially loose. On the desk in front of her, a laptop screen glowed with an open email. Adrian should leave. He knew that. This was private. This was none of his business. But the sound she was making, it reminded him of the night his wife died, the way the hospice nurse had quietly left the room, the way he'd sat beside the bed, and broken apart because there was no one left to be strong for. He knocked on the door frame. Selena's head snapped up. For a second, they stared at each other. Her eyes were red. Her makeup was smeared. She looked young and furious and completely undone. "Get out," she said. Her voice cracked halfway through. Adrian should have listened. He didn't. "Do you need help?" he asked. "I said get out." Louder this time, sharper, but still wrong, too rough, like her throat wasn't working right. Adrian didn't move. "I heard you from downstairs." Selena stood. The chair rolled backward and hit the wall. "I don't care what you heard. Leave. Now." "Okay," Adrian said. He didn't leave. Selena's hands curled into fists. "Do you know who I am?" "Yes." "Then you know I can have security remove you. I can have you fired. I can make sure you never work in this city again." "Probably," Adrian said. They stood there. The office was huge. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Manhattan, art on the walls that Adrian suspected was worth more than his entire life, furniture that looked like it had been designed by someone who hated comfort. It smelled like expensive perfume and cold air. Selena's face twisted. "Why are you still here? Baki." "Nanpon." "Because you're crying," Adrian said simply. "And you're alone." Something in her expression cracked. She sat down. Not in the chair, on the floor, right there beside the desk, like her legs had stopped working. She pulled her knees up and pressed her forehead against them. Adrian hesitated. Then he stepped into the office and closed the door behind him. He sat down on the floor too, a few feet away, close enough that she'd know he was there, far enough that she could breathe. For a long time, neither of them spoke. The city moved outside the windows, lights and traffic, and people living their lives 40 stories below. Finally, Selena's voice came out hoarse and wrecked. "He's been stealing from me for 2 years. Adrian waited. "My fiancé." "Marcus." She laughed, and it sounded like glass breaking. "He proposed 6 months ago, told me he loved me, told me we'd build something together." She lifted her head. Her eyes were empty. "He's been moving assets, quietly, setting up shadow accounts, offshore trusts, planning to gut the company the second we were married." Adrian's stomach dropped. "I found the emails tonight," Selena continued. "All of them, every lie, every transaction. He wasn't even careful. He didn't think I'd look." Her voice went flat. "He didn't think I was smart enough to catch him." "I'm sorry," Adrian said. Selena stared at him. "You don't even know me. I know what betrayal feels like. Do you?" It wasn't a question. It was a challenge. "My wife died 3 years ago," Adrian said quietly. "Cancer. We didn't have good insurance. I sold everything we owned trying to pay for treatments that didn't work. The hospital billed us anyway. Collections calls for 2 years. I'm still paying it off." Selena's face changed. "That's not the same." "No," Adrian agreed. "It's not. But I know what it's like when someone takes everything from you and you can't do anything about it. She looked away. I can do something about it. I can destroy him. I will destroy him. I believe you. Then why are you here? Adrian thought about that. Because destroying him won't make you feel better. Not tonight. Selena's jaw tightened. You don't know what I feel. You're right, I don't. He paused. But I know what it's like to cry alone, and I wouldn't wish that on anyone. Her breath hitched. She turned her face away, but not before he saw her eyes fill again. They sat in silence for a long time after that. Eventually, Selena spoke. Her voice was quieter now, worn down. What's your name? Adrian Cross. What do you do here, Adrian Cross? Data analysis. 12th floor. Why are you here this late? Someone messed up the quarterly reports. I'm fixing them. Selena made a sound that might have been a laugh. Of course you are. Another long pause. Do you have family? She asked. A daughter, Lily. She's 8. Where's her mother? Dead. Selena flinched. I'm sorry. So am I. Do you... She hesitated. Do you ever stop being angry about it? Adrian thought about the question. No, but you learn how to carry it. Selena looked at him then, really looked, like she was trying to figure out if he was real. I don't know how to do that. Most people don't. How do you? Badly, Adrian said. I get up every morning because my daughter needs breakfast. I go to work because we need money. I keep moving because stopping means thinking too hard. It's not pretty, but it's what I've got. Selena's shoulders dropped. The tension drained out of her all at once, leaving her looking smaller, tired. I built this company, she said. My father started it, but I made it what it is. I've worked 80-hour weeks for 6 years. I've sacrificed everything. Friends, sleep, any chance of a normal life. And Marcus was going to take it. Just take it. Like I was nothing. You're not nothing, Adrian said. You don't know that. I do, actually, because nothing doesn't cry. Nothing doesn't care. You care. That's why this hurts. Selena closed her eyes. A tear slid down her cheek and she wiped it away angrily. I can't afford to care, Chitambal, she said. Caring makes you weak. Caring makes you human. Same thing. Adrian shook his head. I don't think so. She opened her eyes and looked at him again. Why are you being kind to me? Why wouldn't I be? Because I'm your boss. Because I could ruin your life with one phone call. Because you have no reason to trust me. You're right, Adrian said, but you're also a person who's having the worst night of her life. And I'm a person who knows what that's like. That's enough. Selena stared at him for a long, long moment. Then she laughed, quiet and broken and real. You're either very stupid or very brave. Probably both. You should go before someone sees you here. Probably. He didn't move. Selena almost smiled. You don't follow directions well. Not really. That's going to be a problem. For you or for me? Both. They sat there a little longer. The crying had stopped. The city lights glittered outside like scattered glass. Somewhere far below, sirens wailed. Finally, Adrian stood. His knees ached. He'd been sitting too long. I should get home. My daughter's at the neighbor's. Selena nodded. She looked exhausted. Thank you. For what? For not leaving. Adrian shrugged. It's what decent people do. Most people aren't decent. I know, but some are. He walked to the door. His hand was on the handle when Selena spoke again. Adrian. He turned. She was standing now, smoothing her hair back with shaking hands, trying to rebuild the armor. What you saw tonight, if you tell anyone, I won't, Adrian said. How do I know that? You don't, but I'm telling you anyway. Selena studied his face. Whatever she saw there must have satisfied her because she nodded once. Go home to your daughter, she said. Adrian left. Pat. He picked up Lily from Mrs. Cho's apartment at 10:15. The old woman waved away his apologies and his thanks, pressed a container of leftovers into his hands, and told him to stop working so hard. Lily was half asleep. Adrian carried her upstairs, got her into bed without fully waking her, and sat in the kitchen with Mrs. Cho's fried rice, staring at nothing. He thought about Selena Vaughn crying into her hands. He thought about the way she'd looked at him, like she couldn't figure out if he was real. He thought about the fact that he'd just done something incredibly stupid. Then he ate the fried rice, washed the container, and went to bed. Ubok. Monday morning, Adrian arrived at work expecting nothing to change. Everything changed. At 8:30, his supervisor Derek appeared at his desk, looking confused and vaguely irritated. "You're wanted on 16. Adrian looked up from his computer. "What?" "Executive floor, now." "Why?" Derek shrugged. "I don't know. But when Selena Vaughn's office calls, you don't ask questions, you just go." Adrian's stomach dropped. He took the elevator. His hands were sweating. The doors opened onto the 16th floor, polished and pristine, and nothing like the dim, broken place it had been Friday night. A woman in a gray suit met him at reception. "Adrian Cross?" "Yes. Follow me." "Oh." She led him down the hall to Selena's office. The door was open. Selena sat behind her desk, perfectly composed, hair immaculate, wearing a black suit that probably cost more than Adrian's car. She looked like she'd never cried in her life. "Close the door," she said. Adrian did. Selena folded her hands on the desk. "Sit." He sat. She studied him for a moment. Her expression gave nothing away. "I've reviewed your employment file," she said. "You've been here 4 years. Data analysis? No disciplinary issues? Your performance reviews are excellent. You're consistently rated in the top 5% of your department." Adrian said nothing. "You're also wildly underpaid," Selena continued. "Your salary is $12,000 below market rate for your position. You've never asked for a raise. Why?" "I needed the job more than I needed to negotiate." "Smart or desperate?" "Both." Selena's mouth twitched, almost a smile. "I'm promoting you." Adrian blinked. "What?" "As of today, you're my personal operations advisor. You'll report directly to me. Your salary is tripling. You'll have an office on this floor, full benefits, and a discretionary budget. Your job is to help me rebuild operational oversight across the company. Someone's been stealing from me, and I need someone I can trust to help me find out how deep it goes." Adrian's brain stalled. "You want me to work for you?" "I want you to work with me," Selena corrected. "There's a difference." "Why?" "Because you're good at your job. Because you don't have any loyalty to the people who've been bleeding this company dry. And because—" She paused. "Because you didn't leave Friday night." Adrian stared at her. "That's not a good reason to promote someone." "Maybe not. But it's my reason." She leaned forward. "I need people around me who won't sell me out." "You proved you won't. That's more valuable than an MBA." "You don't know me. I know enough." "What if I say no?" Selena's eyes narrowed. "You won't." "How do you know?" "Because you have a daughter who needs new shoes, because your rent is overdue, because you've been drowning for 3 years, and you're too proud to ask for help." She tilted her head. "Am I wrong?" "Get." Well, Adrian's jaw tightened. "No." "Then stop arguing and say yes." He should think about it. He should ask questions. He should figure out what she really wanted from him. But Lily needed new shoes, and the rent was overdue. And he was so tired of drowning. "Yes," Adrian said. Selena nodded. "Good. Your office is 3 doors down. Report here at 8 tomorrow morning. Bring coffee. I take it black. Anything else?" "Yes." She held his gaze. "What happened Friday night stays between us. No one else knows. No one else will." "Understood." "And Adrian?" "Yes?" "Don't make me regret this." He stood. "I'll try not to." As he reached the door, Selena spoke again. Her voice was different, quieter, almost uncertain. "Do you regret it? Staying?" Adrian turned. For a moment, she looked like the woman from Friday night, raw and real and breakable. "No," he said. Something flickered across her face. Relief, maybe. Or surprise. "Good," she said. "Now get out. I have work to do." Adrian left. He walked back to the elevator in a daze, wrote it down to 12, packed his desk while his coworkers stared. Derek cornered him by the elevators. What the hell just happened? I got promoted. To what? Operations advisor. I'm working with Selena Vaughn. Derek's face went pale. You're screwing with me. I'm not. Why you? I don't know. Adrian lied. He did know. He knew exactly why. Because he'd stayed when everyone else would have run. Because he'd seen her broken and hadn't used it against her. Because she needed someone who didn't want anything from her except to be treated like a human being. Adrian rode the elevator down to the lobby, walked outside into the October morning, called Mrs. Choen asked if she could pick up Lily from school. He was going to be late tonight. Then he stood on the sidewalk and stared up at the building. 43 stories of steel and glass. At the very top, behind one of those windows, Selena Vaughn was probably already back to work, rebuilding her walls, sharpening her edges, preparing to destroy the man who'd tried to destroy her. And somehow, impossibly, Adrian was supposed to help. He thought about Lily's face when he told her they could finally afford to fix the heat, about the stack of medical bills he might actually be able to pay off, about the fact that his life had just changed because he'd been stupid enough to stay when he should have walked away. Then he went back inside and got to work. Adrian's first morning as Selena Vaughn's operations advisor started with coffee that cost $8 and a realization that he had no idea what he was doing. He stood outside her office at 7:55, holding 2 cups, one black, one with cream because he'd never learned to drink it straight, and trying not to look like someone who'd woken up at 4 a.m. in a panic. His new office was smaller than hers, but still 3 times the size of his old cubicle, with actual walls and a door that closed and a view of something other than brick. He'd spent 20 minutes last night just standing in it, afraid to touch anything. Selena's door was already open. She sat behind her desk with her laptop, her hair pulled back so tight it looked painful, wearing a navy suit that probably cost more than his first car. She glanced up when he knocked. "You're early," she said. "You said 8. Most people interpret that as 8:15. She held out her hand. "Coffee." Adrian handed her the black one. She took a sip, made a face. "This is terrible." "It's from the lobby." "I know. That's why it's terrible." She set the cup down. "Tomorrow, there's a place 2 blocks east, Manifold. Tell them it's for me. They'll know what to do." "Understood." Selena studied him for a moment. "You look exhausted." "I'm fine." "You're lying, but I appreciate the effort." She turned her laptop around so he could see the screen. "This is the operational audit I've been running for the past 72 hours. Every department, every expenditure over $10,000, every contract signed in the last 2 years. I need you to cross-reference it against the personnel files and flag anything that doesn't make sense." Adrian looked at the spreadsheet. It had over 3,000 rows. "When do you need it?" "Yesterday, but I'll settle for end of week. That's 4 days. I'm aware. It's going to take longer than that." Selena's eyes narrowed. "Are you telling me you can't do it?" "I'm telling you I can't do it alone. Not in 4 days. Not if you want it done right." She leaned back in her chair. "You've been here 1 day, and you're already negotiating deadlines. You promoted me because I'm good at my job. Part of being good at my job is knowing when something's impossible." "Nothing's impossible." "Fine. It's possible. But it'll be garbage. Your choice." Selena's mouth twitched, almost a smile. "You're not afraid of me." "I'm terrified of you, but I'm more afraid of screwing this up." "Good." She closed the laptop. "You can have 2 weeks, but I want daily updates. And if I find out you're padding the timeline, I'm not." "How do I know?" "Because I just talked myself out of an impossible deadline. If I wanted to coast, I would have said yes and turned in something mediocre." Selena considered that. "Fair point." She stood. "Come on, where are we going?" "I'm introducing you to the executive team. They need to know you're working with me now. And they need to know that undermining you is the same as undermining me." Adrian's stomach dropped. "Is that necessary?" "Extremely. Half of them are sharks. The other half are incompetent. You need to know which is which." She walked past him into the hallway. Adrian followed, still holding his coffee, feeling like he'd just been conscripted into a war he didn't understand. The executive conference room was on the north side of the building, all glass walls and a table that looked like it had been carved from a single piece of wood. 6 people were already seated when Selena walked in. They all stood immediately. "Sit," Selena said. They sat. She took the head of the table. Adrian stood awkwardly near the door until she gestured to the chair beside her. He sat. "This is Adrian Cross," Selena said. "As of today, he's my operations advisor. He has full access to departmental budgets, personnel files, and operational data. If he asks you a question, you answer it. If he requests a report, you provide it. If he identifies a problem, you fix it. Clear?" Silence. I said, "Clear?" A chorus of yes and of course rippled around the table. Selena's gaze moved from face to face, cold and assessing. "Good. Because if I find out anyone in this room has made his job harder, I will assume it's because you have something to hide. And if you have something to hide, I will find it. And then I will end your career so thoroughly you'll be unemployable at a car wash." One of the men, silver hair, expensive watch, cleared his throat. "With all due respect, Selena, don't you think this is a bit aggressive?" "No, Richard, I don't." "Do you know why?" Richard shifted in his seat. "Why?" Because someone in this company has been stealing from me for 2 years. Someone moved $18 million into offshore accounts. Someone falsified acquisition reports and inflated contractor costs and buried the evidence so deep I didn't find it until 3 days ago. Her voice dropped. "So no, I don't think I'm being aggressive. I think I'm being generous. Because the person who did this is either in this room or reports to someone in this room. And when I find them, aggressive is going to feel like mercy." The silence that followed was suffocating. "Now," Selena continued, her tone shifting back to business casual. "Let's go around the table. Introduce yourselves to Adrian. Tell him what you do. And smile when you do it, because he's going to be spending a lot of time in your departments." Whoopi Tati. They introduced themselves. Richard Kane, CFO. Monica Alvarez, General Counsel. David Chen, VP of Operations. 2 others whose names Adrian immediately forgot because he was too busy trying not to pass out from the sheer hostility radiating from the other side of the table. When it was over, Selena dismissed them with a wave. They filed out like students escaping detention. Adrian stayed in his chair. "That was subtle," he said. "Subtlety is for people who have time. I don't." Selena stood. "Walk with me." They left the conference room and headed toward the elevators. Selena moved fast, long strides, heels clicking on the polished floor. Adrian had to work to keep up. "You need to understand something," she said as they walked. "Everyone in this building wants something from me. Money, power, access, approval. They smile when I'm looking and sharpen their knives when I'm not. I've spent 6 years learning how to see through them. And you think I'm different? I think you don't want anything I have. That makes you either useless or invaluable. I'm betting on invaluable. What if you're wrong?" Selena stopped walking. They were in front of the elevators now, alone in the hallway. She turned to face him. "Then I'll fire you," she said simply. "And you'll go back to your old life. But until that happens, you work for me. That means you see things other people don't get to see. It means you have access other people would kill for. And it means people are going to hate you for it. I can handle that. Can you? Because it's not just professional hate, it's personal. They're going to whisper that you slept your way into this job. They're going to say I'm using you. They're going to make your life hell because they can't touch me, so they'll touch you instead." Adrian met her eyes. "I've been broke for 3 years. I've worked nights and weekends. I've eaten ramen for dinner so my daughter could have real food. I've been insulted, ignored, and overlooked by people who make half what I make and do twice as little." He paused. "So yeah, I can handle it." Selena studied him. "You're angry." "I'm always angry. I just hide it better than most people." Something shifted in her expression. Recognition, maybe. Or respect. "Good. Angry is useful. Just don't let it make you sloppy." The elevator doors opened. They stepped inside. "Where are we going?" Adrian asked. "Lunch. It's 9 in the morning. Not for us, for my daughter." Adrian blinked. "Your what?" Selena pressed the button for the lobby. I have a standing lunch with Lily every Tuesday. You're coming with me. Why? Because I want to meet her. And because if you're going to be working this closely with me, I need to know what your life actually looks like. Adrian's chest tightened. Selena, don't argue. It's not a request. Or sheet. The doors closed. They took Selena's car, a black SUV with a driver who didn't speak, and windows tinted so dark Adrian couldn't see outside. He texted Mrs. Cho from the back seat, asking if she could bring Lily to the park near their apartment at noon. Mrs. Cho replied with 3 question marks and a thumbs up. The drive took 20 minutes. When they pulled up to the park, Adrian saw Lily on the swings, Mrs. Cho sitting on a bench nearby with a thermos of tea. Selena got out first. She looked out of place. Designer suit, perfect hair, heels that had no business being on grass. Lily saw her and stopped swinging. Who's that? Lily asked as Adrian approached. Someone I work with, Adrian said. Her name's Selena. She looks fancy. She is fancy. Selena walked over, moving carefully across the uneven ground. She stopped a few feet away from the swings and looked at Lily with an expression Adrian couldn't quite read. Hi, Selena said. Lily stared at her. Do you work with my dad? I do. Are you his boss? Yes. Is he in trouble? Selena's mouth twitched. No, why would you think that? Because bosses only show up when something's wrong. Lily kicked her legs, making the swing drift. That's what my dad says. Your dad is smart. Selena glanced at Adrian. Can I sit? It's a public park, Adrian said. Selena sat on the swing next to Lily's. She looked ridiculous. This powerful, intimidating woman perched on a rusted chain swing in a suit that cost more than a used car. Lily watched her with open curiosity. Why are you really here? Lily asked. I wanted to meet you. Why? Because your dad works for me now, and I like to know the people around me. Lily frowned. That's a weird reason. You're right, it is. So what's the real reason? Selena was quiet for a moment. Then she said, because your dad did something kind for me, and I wanted to see what kind of person raised someone like him. Lily's eyes widened. I didn't raise him. He's the grown-up. You'd be surprised. Selena looked at Adrian. He talks about you constantly, in meetings, in emails. He mentioned you 6 times this morning alone. Oh, that's because I'm interesting, Lily said matter-of-factly. I believe it. Right. They sat there for a while, swinging gently. Mrs. Cho approached with a paper bag. Lunch, she said, handing it to Adrian. Sandwiches. I made extra. You didn't have to. I know, I did anyway. Mrs. Cho looked at Selena. You're the boss? Yes. You treating him right? Selena blinked. Excuse me? Adrian, you treating him right? Or are you one of those people who think money means you can treat people like garbage? Adrian closed his eyes. Mrs. Cho, I'm treating him right, Selena said. There was something careful in her voice, like she was navigating a trap. I promise. Mrs. Cho studied her for a long moment, then she nodded. Good, because he's a good man, and he's been through enough. She walked back to the bench. Selena looked at Adrian. She's terrifying. She's protective. Does she interrogate all your coworkers? Only the ones who show up unannounced. But boy at that barn since cut. Lily hopped off the swing and grabbed the paper bag. Can we eat now? I'm starving. They sat on the grass. Selena in her $1,000 suit, Adrian in his thrift store button-down, and Lily between them, tearing into a sandwich like she hadn't eaten in days. Mrs. Cho watched from the bench, sipping her tea. My dad says you're really rich, Lily said, mouth full. Lily, Adrian started. It's fine, Selena said. Yes, I'm rich. How rich? Very. Do you have a big house? I have an apartment. It's big. Do you have a pool? No. Lily looked disappointed. What's the point of being rich if you don't have a pool? Selena actually laughed. It was small and surprised, like she'd forgotten how. That's a fair question. Do you have a dog? No. A cat? No. Any pets? No. Lily frowned. That's sad. Why? Because everybody needs something to take care of. That's what my dad says. He takes care of me. I take care of my stuffed animals. You should get a dog. I don't have time for a dog. You have time to eat lunch in a park. Selena looked at Adrian. She's persistent. You have no idea. They finished eating. Lily ran off to play on the jungle gym. Adrian started to get up, but Selena stayed on the grass, watching his daughter climb. She's happy, Selena said quietly, most of the time. Does she know about your wife? She was 5 when it happened. She remembers some things, not everything. Adrian paused. I don't know if that's better or worse. Better, Selena said. Trust me. Adrian looked at her. You lost someone. It wasn't a question. Selena didn't answer right away. She picked at the grass, pulling up small pieces. My father, 6 years ago, heart attack. Or that's what they told me. You don't believe it? I didn't. Not at first. She let the grass fall, but the autopsy came back clean, and I had a company to run, so I stopped asking questions. Do you regret that? Every day. She turned to look at him. Do you ever regret having her, Lily? Adrian's chest tightened. No, never. Even though it's hard, especially because it's hard. She's the reason I kept going when I wanted to stop. She's the reason any of this matters. Selena looked back at Lily, who was hanging upside down from the monkey bars, laughing at something only she could hear. You're lucky. I know. I mean it. You have someone who loves you without wanting something in return. Do you know how rare that is? Adrian didn't know what to say to that. They sat in silence until Lily came running back, out of breath and grinning. Can we go get ice cream? You just ate, Adrian said. That was lunch. Ice cream is dessert. They're different. Chi. Lily. I'll buy, Selena said suddenly. She stood, brushing grass off her skirt. There's a place 2 blocks from here, best vanilla in the city. You don't have to. I want to. Selena looked at Lily. What's your favorite flavor? Chocolate with gummy bears. That sounds disgusting. It's amazing. You should try it. Selena's mouth twitched. Maybe I will. They walked to the ice cream shop. Selena in her heels, Lily skipping ahead, Adrian in the middle, trying to figure out what was happening. The shop was small and old-fashioned, the kind of place with a chalkboard menu and mismatched chairs. Lily ordered her chocolate gummy bear monstrosity. Adrian got coffee. Selena ordered vanilla, then stared at it like it might attack her. When was the last time you had ice cream? Adrian asked. I don't remember. That's depressing. My life is depressing. She took a small bite. This is good. Told you so, Lily said. Rich people don't know what they're missing. You might be right. They sat outside at a wobbly metal table. Lily devoured her ice cream in under 3 minutes and then asked if she could go look at the bookstore next door. Adrian said yes, but stay where he could see her through the window. She ran off. Selena watched her go. She's fearless. She's 8. Same thing. Adrian ate his ice cream slowly, watching Selena try to figure out how to exist in a place that didn't have board meetings or hostile shareholders. She looked uncomfortable, out of place, like she was wearing someone else's skin. Why did you really come here today? He asked. Selena set down her spoon. I told you, I wanted to meet her. That's not all of it. She was quiet for a long time. Then, I wanted to see if you were real. What does that mean? It means everyone in my life wants something from me. My executives want power. My investors want returns. My fiancé wanted my company. She looked at him. But you stayed with me Friday night. Gee, and you didn't ask for anything. And I don't understand people like that. So I needed to see your life. To see if there was a catch. And there isn't. You're just a person. With a daughter and a neighbor who makes sandwiches and a life that's small and hard and real. She picked up her spoon again. turning it over in her hands. I don't have that. I don't think I've ever had that. You could. No, I couldn't. My life doesn't work that way. Why not? Because people like me don't get to be normal. We get to be powerful or we get to be destroyed. There's no middle ground. Adrian thought about that. That's a lonely way to live. It's the only way I know. Lily came back with a book, some fantasy novel with a dragon on the cover. Adrian checked the price tag and winced. Selena saw his face and pulled out her wallet. My treat, she said. You already bought ice cream. And now I'm buying a book. Don't argue. She paid before Adrian could stop her. Lily clutched the book like treasure and thanked Selena 3 times. You're welcome, Selena said. She looked genuinely pleased, like she'd just closed a major deal. They walked back to the park. Selena's driver was waiting. Mrs. Cho had already left, but she'd texted Adrian to say Lily could come home whenever. I should get back to the office, Selena said. Okay? She hesitated. Thank you for letting me intrude on your lunch. You're the boss. You could have ordered me, Ma. I know, but I didn't want to. She looked at Lily. Take care of your dad. He works too hard. I know, Lily said seriously. I tell him that all the time. Selena smiled, actually smiled. Then she got in the car and left. Lily watched the SUV disappear around the corner. She's sad. Adrian looked down at his daughter. What makes you say that? I don't know. She just is, like she's pretending really hard not to be. You're a smart kid, I know. Lily opened her new book. Can we go home now? I want to read. What? The rest of the week passed in a blur. Adrian worked 16-hour days digging through financial records, cross-referencing personnel files, flagging irregularities. He found dozens of them, contracts that didn't make sense, payments to vendors that didn't exist, budget overruns that had been approved without oversight. He reported everything to Selena in daily meetings that felt more like interrogations. She listened, asked sharp questions, and never let him get away with vague answers. This vendor, she said one afternoon, pointing at his laptop screen. Apex Solutions. They've been paid $2 million over 3 years. What do they do? I don't know yet. Their contract says consulting, but there's no documentation of what they actually delivered. Find out, and find out who approved the payments. Already on it. Selena leaned back in her chair. You're good at this. I'm good at finding patterns. That's all this is. No, this is more than that. You're seeing things my auditors missed. She studied him. Why? Because I'm looking for what's hidden. They were looking for what's broken. Different questions, different answers. You sound like a detective. I sound like someone who's been poor. When you don't have money, you learn to notice where it goes. You notice the fees, the charges, the things that don't add up. This is the same thing, just with more zeros. Selena nodded slowly. Keep digging. I want a full report by Monday. You'll have it. He worked through the weekend. Lily complained that he was boring. Mrs. Cho brought food and worried looks. Adrian barely noticed. He was too deep in the numbers, too focused on the patterns emerging from the chaos. By Sunday night, he had it. Apex Solutions wasn't a vendor. It was a shell company. The payments had been approved by Richard Kane, the CFO, the same man who'd questioned Selena's tone in the executive meeting. And the money had been routed through 3 different offshore accounts before disappearing entirely. Adrian sat back in his chair staring at his screen. He'd found the thief, Busik. Monday morning, Adrian walked into Selena's office with a printed report and a knot in his stomach. She looked up from her laptop. You look like you're about to deliver bad news. I am. Show me. He laid the report on her desk. Richard Kane, your CFO. He's been moving money through Apex Solutions for 3 years. 18 million total. It's been going offshore, and from there I can't track it. But he's the one who approved every payment. Selena read the report in silence. Her face didn't change. When she finished, she set it down carefully. You're sure? I'm sure. How sure? Enough to bet my job on it. Selena stood. She walked to the window and stared out at the city for a long time. When she spoke, her voice was cold. He's been with me since the beginning, since my father died. He helped me rebuild after the transition. He was one of the only people I trusted. I'm sorry. Don't be. You did your job. She turned around. Call security. Tell them to escort Richard to this office. Don't tell them why, and don't tell anyone else. What are you going to do? I'm going to give him a chance to explain himself. Her eyes were hard. And then I'm going to destroy him. Adrian made the call. 20 minutes later, Richard Kane walked into Selena's office, flanked by 2 security guards. He looked confused and slightly irritated. What's this about? He asked. Selena gestured to the chair across from her desk. Sit. Richard sat. The guard stayed by the door. Selena slid the report across the desk. Explain. Richard picked it up. Adrian watched his face change as he read. Confusion, then recognition, then panic. This is ridiculous, Richard said. You can't possibly think, I don't think, I know. Selena's voice was ice. $18 million. 3 years. Apex Solutions. Your signature on every approval. Those were legitimate consulting fees. Apex Solutions doesn't exist. It's a shell, and the money went offshore. So either you're the most incompetent CFO in history, or you're a thief. Which is it? Richard's face went red. You can't prove. I can, and I will. Selena leaned forward. You have one chance to tell me the truth, right now. If you do, I'll make this quiet. If you don't, I'll make sure every news outlet in the city knows what you did. Richard looked at Adrian. This is because of him, isn't it? You brought in some nobody, and now he's poisoning you against people who've actually been loyal. Answer the question, Selena said. Silence. Then Richard laughed. It was bitter and sharp. You want the truth? Fine. Yes, I moved the money. Yes, I created Apex. And yes, I've been planning this for 3 years. Adrian's stomach dropped. Why? Selena asked. Her voice was dangerously quiet. Because you didn't deserve it. Any of it. Your father built this company, you inherited it, and you've been running it into the ground with your obsession with control and your paranoia. I was right to be paranoid. You're always right, aren't you? Richard stood. You're brilliant and ruthless, and everyone's afraid of you. But you know what? You're also alone. And you're going to stay alone, because no one can stand being around you. Selena didn't flinch. Get out! You're making a mistake. I said get out. Security will escort you to your office. You have 30 minutes to pack your things. If you're still in this building after that, I'll have you arrested. Richard looked at Adrian one more time. You think you're special? You're not. You're just the next fool who thinks he can save her. Good luck with that. The guards escorted him out. The door closed. Selena sat down slowly. She didn't speak for a long time. Are you okay? Adrian asked. No. Her voice was flat. But I will be. What happens now? Now I call my lawyers. I file charges. I make sure he never works in this industry again. She looked at him, and I figure out who else was involved. Because Richard didn't do this alone. How do you know? Because $18 million doesn't disappear quietly. Someone helped him. Someone covered for him. She pulled up her laptop. Which means we're not done. We're just getting started. Adrian sat down. His hands were shaking. He'd just helped expose a crime that could send someone to prison. He should feel good about it. Instead, he felt sick. Adrian. He looked up. Selena's expression had softened, just slightly, just enough to remind him of the woman who'd cried in this office 2 weeks ago. Thank you, she said. For what? For finding the truth, for not running when it got complicated. She paused. For staying. I'm just doing my job, bud. No, you're doing more than that. She closed her laptop. Go home, see your daughter. Take tomorrow off. I don't need... Yes, you do. And so do I. She rubbed her face. This is going to get worse before it gets better, and I need you ready. Adrian stood. Selena? Yes? He was wrong. About you being alone. She looked at him for a long moment. We'll see. He left. Outside, the city moved on. Indifferent, relentless, alive. Adrian stood on the sidewalk and breathed until his hands stopped shaking. Then he went home to his daughter and tried to pretend everything was fine. But it wasn't fine. And deep down, he knew it was only going to get worse. The story broke 3 days later. Adrian was making breakfast when his phone started buzzing. Texts, news alerts, missed calls from numbers he didn't recognize. He picked it up and saw the headline splashed across every major outlet. Vaughn Media CFO, arrested in multi-million-dollar fraud scheme. His stomach turned. Lily looked up from her cereal. What's wrong? Nothing. Eat your breakfast. You look weird. I'm fine. He wasn't fine. He scrolled through the articles with shaking hands. They had everything. Richard's arrest, the shell company, the offshore accounts. Some articles mentioned an internal investigation. A few mentioned Selena's statement about strengthening oversight and accountability. None of them mentioned Adrian's name. That should have been a relief. It wasn't. His phone rang. Selena. Did you see? She asked without preamble. Yeah. The lawyers went public this morning. I tried to keep it contained, but someone leaked it to the press before I could control the narrative. She sounded tired. It's going to be a circus for a while. Are you okay? I'm managing. You need to come in today. We have work to do. Selena, it's barely 7. I know what time it is. I'll see you at 9. She hung up. Adrian stared at his phone. Lily was watching him with that look she got sometimes. Too old. Too knowing. Is your boss in trouble? She asked. No, she's handling it. Then why do you look scared? Adrian set his phone down. I'm not scared. You're lying. You do that face when you lie. Your mouth gets tight. Finish your cereal. Dad. Lily, please. She went back to eating, but she kept glancing at him. Adrian forced himself to drink coffee he couldn't taste and pretend everything was normal. It wasn't normal. Nothing about this was normal. When he dropped Lily at school, she hugged him harder than usual. Be careful, she said. I'm always careful. No, you're not. But try anyway. He watched her walk into the building, that purple backpack bouncing with each step, and felt something twist in his chest. He'd spent 3 years keeping their life small and safe and predictable. And now he'd dragged them into something that was none of those things. The subway ride felt longer than usual. Every headline on every phone screen seemed to be about Vaughn Media. People were talking about it, snippets of conversation that Adrian caught as he stood pressed between strangers. Did you hear about that CFO? Stole millions. Can you imagine? I heard the CEO's a nightmare to work for. Probably drove him to it. Adrian kept his head down and said nothing. When he got to the building, there were news vans parked outside. Reporters with cameras. Adrian used the side entrance and took the service elevator to avoid them. The 16th floor was chaos. Phones ringing, people moving fast with stacks of papers. Monica Alvarez, the general counsel, stood near the conference room barking orders at a paralegal who looked like he might cry. Adrian found Selena in her office. She had her jacket off, sleeves rolled up, hair pulled back in a knot that was already coming loose. Her desk was covered in legal documents. Close the door, she said. He did. Richard's lawyers are claiming he was a scapegoat. They're saying I knew about the offshore accounts, and I'm using him to cover my own tracks. She didn't look up from the papers. It's garbage, but it's going to stick in people's minds. Guilty by association. What do? We prove he acted alone. We find every piece of evidence linking him to Apex Solutions, and we bury him with it. She finally looked up. How fast can you pull transaction records for every account he had access to? A week, maybe less if I don't sleep. Don't sleep. Selena, I'm kidding, mostly. She rubbed her eyes. I need you functional, not dead. Take breaks. But get me those records. Adrian sat down. The reporters outside, ignore them. They'll get bored eventually. Us. Will they? No, but it sounds better than the truth. Which is that this is going to get worse. Richard's team is going to fight dirty. They're going to dig into my past, my finances, my personal life. And if they can't find anything on me, they'll start looking at the people around me. Adrian's chest tightened. You think they'll come after me? But I think they'll come after anyone they can use. You're new. You're the one who found the evidence. That makes you a target. What am I supposed to do? Keep your head down. Don't talk to reporters. Don't comment on anything publicly. And if anyone approaches you, anyone, you tell me immediately. Okay. Selena studied him. You're scared. Wouldn't you be? I am. Every day. She leaned back in her chair. But I don't let it stop me. And neither can you. There was something in her voice. Not reassurance exactly. More like a dare. Adrian nodded. I'll get you those records. Good. And Adrian? Yeah? Thank you for not quitting. I thought about it. I know, but you didn't. That means something. He left her office and went to his own, closing the door behind him. His desk was already piled with files. He sat down, opened his laptop, and got to work. The hours bled together. Morning became afternoon, became evening. Adrian barely noticed. He was deep in transaction logs when someone knocked on his door. Come in. David Chen stepped inside. VP of Operations. 50s, gray suit, expression like he'd just bitten into something sour. Adrian, got a minute? Not really. David closed the door anyway. This won't take long. Adrian saved his work and leaned back. What do you need? I wanted to talk to you about Richard. What about him? I've known him for 15 years. Worked with him on 3 different companies before Vaughn Media. He's a good man. Adrian said nothing. I don't believe he did what they're saying he did, David continued. And I think Selena's making a mistake. That's between you and Selena. Is it? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're the one who started this whole mess. You've been here, what, a month? And suddenly one of our most senior executives is in handcuffs. Adrian kept his voice level. I found evidence of fraud. I reported it. That's my job. Or maybe you found what Selena wanted you to find. Ever think about that? I think you should leave. David didn't move. Be careful, Adrian. Selena has a way of using people and then throwing them away when they're not useful anymore. You might think you're special, but you're not. You're just convenient. Are you done? I'm trying to help you. No, you're not. You're trying to protect your friend. I get that. But your friend stole $18 million, and the evidence doesn't lie. David's face hardened. You don't know what you're talking about. Then prove me wrong. Show me I made a mistake. Show me the evidence that says Richard's innocent. Adrian stood. But you can't. Because it doesn't exist. David stared at him for a long moment. Then he turned and left without another word. Adrian sat back down. His hands were shaking. He'd just made an enemy. He could feel it. The rest of the day was quieter. Adrian worked until his eyes burned and his back ached. When he finally looked at the clock, it was past 9. He gathered his things and headed for the elevator. The building was nearly empty now, just security and a few workaholics still grinding away. Adrian was halfway to the lobby when he heard voices from the conference room. He should have kept walking. He didn't. The door was cracked open. Inside, he could see Selena and Monica Alvarez standing over a speakerphone. A man's voice crackled through the speaker, smooth, confident, vaguely threatening. You're making this harder than it needs to be, Selena. Adrian recognized the voice. Marcus, Selena's ex-fiancé. I'm not making anything hard, Selena said. Her voice was ice. You stole from me. You got caught. Now you're facing the consequences. I didn't steal anything. Richard moved that money. I just helped him invest it. You created the offshore accounts. You set up the shell companies. Don't insult my intelligence by pretending you're innocent. Marcus laughed. You can't prove that. Watch me. Selena, sweetheart, don't call me that. We used to be in love, remember? We were going to build something together. You were going to steal everything I had. That's not love. That's theft. DC. There was a pause. When Marcus spoke again, his voice had changed, colder, sharper. You're going to regret this. Is that a threat? It's a promise. You think Richard's the only one who knows where the bodies are buried? You think your company's clean? I know things, Selena, things that would destroy you if they got out. Then release them. I dare you. Maybe I will. Or maybe I'll just make your life hell until you drop the charges and walk away. Not going to happen. We'll see. You know what your problem is? You think you're untouchable. You think your money and your lawyers can protect you. But you're wrong. Everyone has a weakness, and I know yours. The line went dead. Selena stood there for a moment, staring at the phone. Then she picked it up and threw it across the room. It hit the wall and shattered. Monica didn't flinch. That went well? He's bluffing. Is he? He has to be. We've been over every file, every transaction. There's nothing he can use against me. What about your father's death? Selena went very still. What about it? Marcus mentioned it once, said there were questions that never got answered, medical records that didn't add up. My father had a heart attack. The autopsy confirmed it. I know. But Marcus seems to think there's more to it. Then Marcus is delusional. Selena turned toward the door and saw Adrian standing there. They stared at each other. How long have you been listening? Selena asked. Long enough. You should have kept walking. Probably. Selena looked at Monica. Give us a minute. Monica left, closing the door behind her. Selena sat down at the conference table. She looked exhausted, not just tired, but wrung out, like she'd been running on fumes for days and finally hit empty. You heard what he said, she said. Yeah. And I think he's dangerous. I know he's dangerous. That's not the question. Adrian sat down across from her. What is the question? The question is whether you're going to stay. Because this is going to get uglier. Marcus isn't bluffing about making my life hell. And if you're close to me, you're going to get hit with the shrapnel. I know. Do you? Because it's one thing to know it intellectually. It's another thing to live it. Your daughter, your neighbor, your life, everything becomes a target. Adrian thought about Lily, about Mrs. Cho, about the small, safe world he'd built for them. What if I said I wanted out? He asked. Selena's face didn't change. I'd let you go. No hard feelings. I'd even give you a reference. Would you? Yes, because I'm not Marcus. I don't trap people. Adrian believed her. That was the strange part. He actually believed her. I'm not leaving, he said. Why not? Because you need someone you can trust, and because walking away now would feel like letting him win. Selena almost smiled. That's a terrible reason to stay. It's the only one I've got. She looked at him for a long time. Then she stood. Go home, Adrian. See your daughter. Get some sleep. Tomorrow's going to be a long day. What are you going to do? I'm going to figure out what Marcus knows, and then I'm going to make sure he can't use it. How? I don't know yet, but I'll think of something. She paused at the door. You're a good person. You know that, right? I don't feel like one. Good people rarely do. She left. Adrian sat alone in the conference room, staring at the shattered phone on the floor. He thought about Marcus's voice, about the threat that wasn't quite a threat, about the way Selena's face had gone blank when Monica mentioned her father. Something was wrong. He could feel it. But he didn't know what. The walk home was cold. November had arrived without warning, bringing wind that cut through his jacket and made his eyes water. Adrian stopped at a bodega near his apartment and bought milk, bread, and a candy bar for Lily that he'd pretend to be surprised about when she found it. Mrs. Cho met him at the door. You're late. I know, I'm sorry. Lily's asleep. She waited up as long as she could. I'll wake her. Don't. Let her rest. Mrs. Cho looked at him closely. You look terrible. Thanks. I'm serious. When's the last time you slept? Adrian couldn't remember. I'm fine. You're not, and you're scaring me. She handed him a container of soup. Eat this, then sleep. Whatever's happening at that job, it's not worth your health. It's complicated. It always is. She patted his arm. Be careful, Adrian. People like that, rich people with problems. They don't care who gets hurt as long as they win. Selena's not like that. You sure about that? Adrian wasn't sure about anything anymore. He thanked Mrs. Cho and went inside. The apartment was dark and quiet. He checked on Lily. She was sprawled across her bed with 3 stuffed animals and the book Selena had bought her. He pulled the blanket over her and kissed her forehead. Then he sat in the kitchen with Mrs. Cho's soup and tried not to think about everything that could go wrong. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You don't know her like you think you do. Adrian stared at it, typed back. Who is this? No response. He blocked the number and deleted the message. But he couldn't delete the feeling it left behind, the sense that he was walking into something much bigger and darker than he'd realized. The next morning, Adrian woke up to Lily shaking his shoulder. Dad, wake up! He opened his eyes. His neck hurt from falling asleep at the kitchen table. What's wrong? There are people outside. What people? I don't know. They have cameras. Adrian's blood went cold. He stood and went to the window. There were 3 of them, reporters with cameras and microphones, standing on the sidewalk outside his building. One of them was interviewing someone. Adrian couldn't hear what they were saying. Dad? It's okay. Stay away from the window. Why are they here? I don't know. He did know. Someone had leaked his address. Someone wanted to make his life difficult. His phone rang. Selena. Are they at your apartment? She asked. Yeah, how did you know? Because they're at mine too, and at Monica's, and at every executive who's been involved in the investigation. She sounded furious. Marcus is behind this. He leaked our information to the press. What do I do? Don't talk to them. Don't even acknowledge them. I'm sending a car to pick you up. It'll be there in 20 minutes. Pack a bag for you and Lily. You're staying at a hotel until this blows over. Selena, I can't afford. I'm paying for it. Don't argue. I have to take Lily to school. The car will take her, and there'll be security. I'm not letting Marcus turn your daughter into a story. Adrian's chest was tight. This is insane. I know, but it's happening. So pack a bag and get ready. She hung up. Adrian stood there for a moment, trying to process. Then he went to Lily's room. Pack some clothes, he said. We're going to stay somewhere else for a few days. Why? Because it's safer. Safer than home? Yes. Lily's eyes were wide. Dad, you're scaring me. Adrian crouched down so he was eye level with her. I know, and I'm sorry, but I promise you're safe. I'm going to make sure of it. Is this because of your boss? It's because of some bad people who are trying to cause problems, but they're not going to win, okay? Lily nodded slowly. Okay. They packed quickly. Adrian threw clothes into a duffel bag without thinking. Jeans, shirts, Lily's favorite stuffed bear. His hands were shaking the whole time. The car arrived exactly 20 minutes later. It was the same black SUV Selena used. The driver didn't speak, just nodded when Adrian got in with Lily. They dropped Lily at school first. There was a security guard waiting, professional, calm, wearing a suit that hid whatever weapon he was carrying. He walked Lily to the front door while Adrian watched from the car, feeling like the worst father in the world. Then they drove to the hotel. It was nice. Too nice. The kind of place with a doorman and marble floors and art that cost more than Adrian's yearly salary. The driver handed him a key card. 15th floor, room 1512. Everything's taken care of. Thank you. Adrian went inside. The room was bigger than his apartment. There was a king bed, a sitting area, a bathroom with a tub that could fit 3 people. On the desk was a note in Selena's handwriting. Stay here as long as you need. Don't worry about the cost. Focus on staying safe. Adrian sat on the bed and put his head in his hands. What had he gotten himself into? His phone buzzed. Another unknown number. He almost didn't answer. Hello? Adrian Cross? A woman's voice, professional, clipped. Who's asking? My name is Jennifer Marks. I'm a reporter with the Metropolitan Tribune. I'm doing a story on the Vaughn media fraud case, and I was hoping you could answer a few questions. No comment. Well, I understand you're the one who uncovered the evidence against Richard Kane. Is that true? No comment. There are rumors that you and Selena Vaughn are personally involved. Can you confirm or deny? Adrian hung up. His phone rang again immediately. Different number. He declined the call. It rang again. And again. He turned it off and threw it on the bed. Then he sat there in the expensive hotel room and tried to figure out how his life had spiraled so completely out of control in less than 2 months. He thought about Lily at school, probably confused and scared. He thought about Mrs. Cho, who was going to worry when she saw the reporters. He thought about Selena, who was fighting a war on multiple fronts and dragging him into the crossfire. And he thought about that text from last night. You don't know her like you think you do. What didn't he know? What was Selena hiding? Adrian didn't have answers, but he had a feeling he was going to find out whether he wanted to or not. His phone buzzed one more time, a text from Selena. Come to the office, we need to talk. Adrian stared at the message for a long time. Then he got up, grabbed his jacket, and went to face whatever came next. Because turning back wasn't an option anymore. Not for him, not for Lily, and not for the woman who'd cried in her office and changed everything. The car ride back to Vaughn Media felt longer than it should have. Adrian watched the city pass outside the tinted windows. People going about their normal lives, unaware that his had just been torn apart and scattered across the front page of every newspaper in Manhattan. When the SUV pulled up to the building, there were more reporters than before. Cameras swung toward the vehicle the moment it stopped. The driver looked at him in the rear-view mirror. Side entrance. I'll take you around. Adrian nodded, grateful. They circled the block twice before pulling into the underground garage. The elevator ride up was silent except for the mechanical hum. Adrian's reflection stared back at him from the polished doors, rumpled shirt, dark circles under his eyes. A man who looked like he'd aged 5 years in 5 weeks. Selena's office door was open. She was on the phone when he walked in, pacing behind her desk with her jacket off and her hair loose around her shoulders. She looked furious. I don't care what he thinks he has, she said into the phone. If Marcus releases anything, he's committing corporate espionage and I will bury him. Do I make myself clear? A pause. Good. Keep me updated. She hung up and looked at Adrian. How's Lily? Confused, scared, she asked me if we're in danger. Well, what did you tell her? I told her we're safe. I don't know if she believed me. Adrian sat down without being asked. Selena, what the hell is happening? Marcus is escalating. He leaked our addresses to the press. He's threatening to release confidential information about the company. And this morning, someone broke into my apartment. Adrian's stomach dropped. What? Nothing was taken, but they went through my office, my files, my computer. They were looking for something. So, did you call the police? And tell them what? That my ex-fiancée, who's currently under investigation for fraud, might have hired someone to break into my home. They'd write it off as a domestic dispute. She sat down heavily. I can't prove it was Marcus, but I know it was. What was he looking for? Selena was quiet for a moment. Information about my father's death. The air in the room changed. You think there's something there, Adrian said slowly. Something he can use. I think Marcus has been digging into my past for longer than I realized, and I think he found something that makes him believe my father's death wasn't natural. But the autopsy said heart attack. I know. I was there. I read the reports. She rubbed her face. But Marcus keeps bringing it up, and now he's breaking into my apartment looking for files. That's not the behavior of someone who's bluffing. Adrian thought about the conversation he'd overheard the night before. The way Marcus had said everyone has a weakness. The way Selena had gone still when Monica mentioned her father. What aren't you telling me? He asked. Selena looked at him. What makes you think I'm hiding something? Because you get this look, like you're doing math in your head, calculating risks. You're doing it right now. She almost smiled. You're observant. It's part of the job. It's more than that. She stood and walked to the window. The city stretched out below them, vast and indifferent and beautiful in the harsh morning light. My father died 6 years ago. Massive heart attack at his desk. He was 58, relatively healthy, no warning signs. The doctors said it happens sometimes. Stress, genetics, bad luck. But you don't believe that. I didn't. Not at first. So I asked questions. I requested his medical records, had them reviewed by 3 different cardiologists. They all said the same thing. Unexpected cardiac event. Nothing suspicious, so I stopped asking. She turned to face him. But there was one thing that never made sense. What? My father was meticulous about his health. Annual checkups, perfect diet, exercise routine. And 2 months before he died, he had a full cardiac workup. Everything came back normal, perfect even. And then he just collapsed. Adrian felt cold. You think someone killed him? I think it's possible. And I think Marcus knows something about it. Why would Marcus know? Adrian stopped. He worked here back then, didn't he? He was my father's executive assistant. They were close. Marcus was there the day he died. He was the one who called 911. Selena's voice was flat. And 3 months after the funeral, Marcus asked me out to dinner, said he wanted to comfort me, that he'd always cared about me. And you believed him. I wanted to believe him. I was 24 years old, running a company I barely understood, and everyone around me was either terrified of me or trying to take advantage. Marcus was patient, charming. He made me feel like I wasn't alone. She laughed bitterly. Turns out I was alone the whole time. I just didn't know it. Adrian didn't know what to say. The weight of it was staggering, not just the betrayal, but the years of it. The calculated intimacy, the long con. If Marcus was involved in your father's death, Adrian said carefully, and he thinks you're getting close to proving it, then he'll do whatever it takes to stop me, including destroying anyone I care about. The words hung between them. Anyone I care about. Adrian's chest tightened. I should take Lily and leave the city, at least until this is over. That's probably smart. But you're not going to let me. Selena met his eyes. I'm not going to stop you. There's a difference. Is there? Yes, because I'm not Marcus. I don't trap people. She walked back to her desk and pulled out a folder. But if you stay, I need you to help me find proof. Proof of what? Proof that my father was murdered. Proof that Marcus was involved. Proof that connects him to Richard and the fraud and everything else. She opened the folder. Inside were copies of medical records, emails, financial statements. I've been going through everything I can find. But I need someone who's good at seeing patterns. Someone who can connect dots I can't see. Adrian stared at the documents. This is dangerous. I know. If Marcus finds out we're digging into this, he'll try to stop us. Yes. But he's going to try anyway. At least this way we're not just defending, we're attacking. Adrian thought about Lily, about the hotel room. Adrian thought about the reporters camped outside his building, about the text message. You don't know her like you think you do. He thought about Selena crying in this office 5 weeks ago, broken and human and real. Okay, he said. Show me what you have. They worked through the afternoon. Selena spread everything across the conference table, 6 years of documents, organized by date and category. Medical records from her father's last checkup, the autopsy report, financial transactions from the weeks before and after his death, email correspondence, meeting notes. Adrian read through it all methodically, making notes, asking questions. Selena answered what she could and pulled up additional files when she couldn't. Your father had a meeting scheduled the day he died, Adrian said, looking at a calendar entry. 2 p.m., with someone named T. Morrison. Who's that? Thomas Morrison. He was an investigator, former FBI. What was your father investigating? I don't know. He didn't tell me. Selena pulled up an email. But 3 days before that meeting, he sent himself a message, just one line. Check RK offshore connections. Adrian looked up sharply. RK Richard Kane. Betrayal. Maybe. Or someone else with those initials. How many RKs were working here at the time? Selena pulled up the old employee roster. 4. Richard Kane, Rachel Kim in marketing, Robert Kozlov in IT, and Ryan Kapoor in accounting. Where are they now? Richard's in custody. Rachel left the company 4 years ago. Robert died in a car accident 2 years ago. Ryan still works here. He's a senior accountant on the 5th floor. Adrian made notes. Did your father's investigation have anything to do with offshore accounts? Not that I knew of, but he kept some things close. Said he didn't want to alarm me until he was sure. Selena's jaw tightened. I thought he was being protective. Now I think he knew something was wrong and didn't want to put me in danger. What happened to Thomas Morrison, the investigator? I tried to find him after my father died. He'd closed his practice and moved out of state. No forwarding address. I hired someone to track him down, but they came back empty. That's convenient. That's what I thought. Adrian sat back. Okay, let's assume your father discovered something. Financial fraud, probably involving offshore accounts. He hired Morrison to investigate. But before Morrison could deliver his findings, your father died. Morrison disappeared, and the investigation died with them. But someone kept it going. Richard kept moving money. Marcus helped him hide it. They had 6 years to perfect their system. And when you got engaged to Marcus, he thought he'd won. He'd have legal access to everything, full control, until he got impatient, until he started moving too much money too fast. And I noticed. Selena looked at Adrian. And then you found the evidence I'd been missing for 6 years. The pieces were starting to fit together. Not perfectly. There were still gaps, questions without answers. But the shape of it was emerging. We need to find Thomas Morrison, Adrian said. I told you I tried. You tried 6 years ago. Try again. People leave trails, addresses, tax records, professional licenses. He can't have disappeared completely. Selena nodded slowly. I'll have Monica's team start looking. And we need to talk to Ryan Kapoor. If your father was investigating RK and Ryan worked in accounting at the time, he might know something. He's been here for 12 years. If he knew something, why wouldn't he have come forward? Maybe he was scared. Maybe he was paid off. Maybe he didn't realize what he knew. Adrian stood. Either way, we need to talk to him. Selena checked her watch. It's almost 5. He'll be leaving soon. Then let's go now. They took the elevator down to the 5th floor. The accounting department was quieter than the executive level. Rows of cubicles, the soft clicking of keyboards, fluorescent lights that made everything look slightly unreal. A woman at the front desk looked up when they approached. Ms. Vaughn, can I help you? I need to speak with Ryan Kapoor. He's in a meeting. Get him out of it. The woman's eyes widened. Of course. One moment. She picked up her phone. 2 minutes later, a man in his 40s appeared. South Asian, thinning hair, wire-rimmed glasses. He looked nervous. Ms. Vaughn, is everything okay? Conference room, now. Ryan glanced at Adrian, then back at Selena. Am I in trouble? That depends on what you tell me. They went to a small conference room at the back of the department. Selena closed the door. Ryan sat down, folding his hands on the table like a student called to the principal's office. 6 years ago, Selena said without preamble, my father was investigating something. Financial irregularities, possibly involving offshore accounts. Do you know anything about that? Ryan went pale. I don't. Yes or no, Ryan? I signed an NDA. The room went silent. You signed an NDA, Selena repeated slowly. With who? With your father. He asked me to review some transactions. He said it was confidential, that I couldn't tell anyone, not even you, especially not you. Why especially not me? He said he didn't want to worry you until he was certain, and he said if anything happened to him, I should take the evidence to the authorities. Adrian leaned forward. What evidence? Ryan looked at Selena. The NDA is void if my father is dead, which he is, so tell me what you found. Ryan swallowed hard. Offshore accounts. 12 of them. Money being moved in small increments over 3 years. Total value around $15 million at the time. Your father asked me to trace the accounts back to their source. And did you? I traced them to a series of shell companies, but the ownership was buried under so many layers I couldn't get to the bottom. Your father said he'd hired someone to help with that part. Thomas Morrison. I don't know the name. He just said the investigator. What happened after my father died? Adrian asked. Ryan's hands were shaking now. I waited, weeks, then months, but the investigator never contacted me. And the accounts went dormant. No more transfers. I thought maybe whoever was running them had gotten scared and stopped. Or they knew your father was dead and thought they'd gotten away with it, Selena said. But they didn't stop, Adrian added. They just got smarter. They waited until everyone forgot, and then they started again. Ryan looked sick. I should have said something. Ryan looked, but I didn't know what to do. And then years passed, and I convinced myself it didn't matter anymore. Did my father tell you who he suspected? Selena asked. No. But he asked me to pull transaction records for 3 people. I assumed one of them was involved. Who? Richard Kane, Marcus Webb, and David Chen. The name hit Adrian like a punch. David Chen, VP of Operations. The man who'd come to his office to defend Richard. The man who'd warned him about Selena. Selena's face had gone cold. David. He was in operations back then too, Ryan said. He had signing authority on major expenditures. If anyone could move money without raising flags, it was him. Or Richard, or Marcus. Selena stood. Where's the evidence you compiled for my father? Roy. I gave it all to him. He said he'd keep it somewhere safe. Did he say where? No, I'm sorry. Selena looked at Adrian. Her expression was unreadable. Thank you, Ryan, she said. You can go. But I need you to keep this conversation confidential. Don't tell anyone we spoke. Not your coworkers, not your friends, not your family. Understand? Ryan nodded quickly. Yes, of course. He left. Adrian and Selena stood in the conference room, surrounded by the hum of fluorescent lights and the distant sound of keyboards. David Chen, Adrian said. You trust him? I thought I did. He's been here since my father's time. He helped me through the transition after the funeral. He's always been loyal. Or he's been playing you for 6 years. Selena's hands curled into fists. If David's involved, if he helped kill my father, we don't know that yet. All we know is your father suspected him. That doesn't mean he was guilty. Then why didn't David mention any of this? When Richard got arrested, when we started the investigation, why didn't he tell me my father had been looking into the same thing? Adrian didn't have an answer. Selena pulled out her phone. I'm calling Monica. We need to freeze David's accounts, pull his transaction history, put surveillance on him. Wait. Why? Because if David is involved and we tip him off, he'll run. Or worse, he'll destroy evidence. We need to be smart about this. Smart how? We watch him, quietly. We pull records without him knowing, and we find Thomas Morrison. He's the key to all of this. Selena stared at him. You're good at this. At what? Strategy. You think like a detective. I think like someone who's been poor. Same thing. She almost smiled. Come on. We have work to do. They went back to her office and worked until the building emptied around them. Monica's team started searching for Thomas Morrison. Adrian pulled transaction records for David Chen going back 7 years. Selena reviewed her father's old files, looking for anything that might indicate where he'd hidden the evidence. Around midnight, Adrian's phone buzzed. A text from the security guard watching Lily. Everything's fine, she's asleep. Don't worry. Adrian let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. Go home, Selena said. She was still at her desk, surrounded by papers, looking exhausted. You've been here for 17 hours. So have you. I don't have a daughter waiting for me. That doesn't mean you don't need sleep. I'll sleep when this is over. Adrian stood and walked over to her desk. Selena, you're going to burn out. I'm fine. You're not. And if you burn out, Marcus wins. Is that what you want? She looked up at him. No. Then go home, or go to wherever you're staying. Eat something, sleep. Come back tomorrow with a clear head. You're bossy. I learned from the best. She actually smiled. Fine, but you're leaving too. Deal. They packed up and took separate cars. Adrian back to the hotel, Selena to wherever she'd been staying since the break-in. Adrian fell into bed still wearing his clothes and slept dreamlessly for 6 hours. When he woke up, there were 3 missed calls from Monica and a text from Selena. We found Morrison. He's alive, and he's willing to talk. Adrian called her back immediately. Where is he? He asked. A small town in Pennsylvania. About 2 hours from here. He's been living under a different name, working as a consultant. When do we leave? Now. I'm sending a car. The drive to Pennsylvania was quiet. Adrian sat in the back of the SUV with Selena, both of them reviewing the information Monica's team had compiled. Thomas Morrison had legally changed his name to Thomas Miller 6 years ago, right after Adrian's father died. He'd moved to a town called Millbrook, population 3,000, and opened a small consulting business. No social media, no public footprint. He'd been hiding. They found his house on a quiet street lined with trees. It was small and neat, with a mailbox that said Miller. Selena knocked. The man who answered was in his 60s, gray hair, weathered face, eyes that had seen too much. He looked at Selena and his expression changed, recognition, then fear. "You shouldn't be here," he said. "We need to talk," Selena said. "I can't help you. My father hired you 6 years ago to investigate financial fraud at Vaughn Media. Morrison, Miller, shook his head. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Yes, you do, and I need to know what you found. Because someone killed my father to stop that investigation. And they're still out there." Morrison stared at her. Then he looked at Adrian. "Who's he?" "Someone I trust," Selena said. Morrison considered that, then he stepped back. 5 minutes. That's all you get. They went inside. The house was sparse, minimal furniture, no photos, nothing personal. Morrison sat down heavily. "Your father was a good man," he said. "He came to me because he suspected someone in his company was stealing. Big money, offshore accounts, shell companies, the whole setup. He wanted proof before he went public." "What did you find?" Adrian asked. "I found a network. 3 people working together. 1 person with access to the accounts, 1 person to authorize the transfers, 1 person to hide the trail. Classic fraud triangle." "Who?" Morrison shook his head. "Your father died before I could deliver my report. And the day after his funeral, someone broke into my office, took everything, files, computers, backups, everything." "Who broke in?" "I don't know, but I knew it was connected, so I closed my practice, changed my name, and disappeared." He looked at Selena. "I'm sorry, I should have gone to the police, but I was scared, and I didn't have proof anymore." "Do you remember the names?" Selena asked. "The 3 people?" Morrison was quiet for a long moment. "I remember 2, Richard Kane and David Chen." Adrian's stomach dropped. "And the 3rd? Selena's voice was barely a whisper. Morrison met her eyes. "Marcus Webb, your fiancé." The room went silent. Selena's face was white. "You're sure?" "I'm sure. They'd been working together for at least 3 years when your father hired me. And I think—" He hesitated. "I think your father's death wasn't natural." "Can you prove it?" "No, but I remember one email I found. From Richard to Marcus. It said, 'The old man's getting too close. We need to handle this before he ruins everything.'" "Did you tell the police?" "I tried, but without the physical evidence, they said it was hearsay. And then someone broke into my office, and I realized these people were willing to kill to protect their secret, so I ran." Selena stood. She walked to the window and stared out at the quiet street. "Thank you," she said without turning around, "for telling me. I'm sorry I didn't come forward sooner." "You were protecting yourself. I understand. What are you going to do?" Selena turned. "I'm going to finish what my father started. I'm going to expose them, all of them, and I'm going to make sure they never hurt anyone again." Morrison nodded. "Be careful. These aren't people who give up easily. Neither am I." They left. The drive back was silent. Adrian watched Selena stare out the window, her face expressionless, her hands folded in her lap. "Are you okay?" he asked. "No." "Do you want to talk about it?" "No." They drove for another hour before she spoke again. "I loved him," she said quietly. "Marcus, I actually loved him. And the whole time he was one of the people who killed my father." Adrian didn't know what to say. "I'm an idiot," she continued. "I'm supposed to be smart. I'm supposed to see through people. And I let him get close. I let him into my life. I almost married him." "You're not an idiot. You're human. He lied to you. He manipulated you. That's not your fault." "Yes, it is, because I should have seen it. I should have known." "How? He spent years building your trust. That's not something you can defend against." Selena looked at him. "You would have seen it. Maybe. Or maybe I would have fallen for it too. You don't know." I know you wouldn't have been stupid enough to fall in love with someone trying to destroy you. But Adrian thought about his wife, about the medical bills, about the years of drowning. You'd be surprised what people do when they're lonely. Selena closed her eyes. I want to destroy him. We will. No. I mean really destroy him. I want to take everything, his money, his reputation, his freedom. I want him to feel what I felt when I found out the truth. Yeah, okay? She opened her eyes. You're not going to tell me revenge is wrong? But no, because I don't think it is. Not when someone takes everything from you. He paused. But I'm going to tell you to be smart about it. Because if you go after him recklessly, you'll lose. And he'll win, and your father's death will have been for nothing. Selena stared at him, then she nodded. You're right. I know. You're also insufferable. I know that too. She almost smiled. When they got back to Manhattan, Selena dropped Adrian at the hotel. He checked on Lily, still asleep, still safe, and then sat in the dark room trying to process everything he'd learned. David Chen had helped kill Selena's father. Marcus had helped kill Selena's father. Richard had helped kill Selena's father. And Selena had spent 6 years building her life around two of them, never knowing they were responsible for the worst thing that had ever happened to her. Adrian's phone buzzed. Selena, thank you for today. I couldn't have done it alone. He typed back, You're stronger than you think. Her response came immediately. I don't feel strong. No one ever does. But you are. A long pause. Then, get some sleep. Tomorrow, we go to war. Adrian set his phone down and stared at the ceiling. Tomorrow they'd expose the truth. Tomorrow they'd bring down the people who'd murdered Selena's father. Tomorrow they'd finish what had started 6 years ago. But tonight, Adrian just sat in the dark and hoped they'd both survive what came next. The shareholder meeting was scheduled for 10 a.m. on a Thursday. Selena spent the 3 days leading up to it building her case with the precision of a surgeon and the fury of someone who'd been lied to for 6 years. Adrian watched her work, pulling files, rehearsing testimony, coordinating with Monica's legal team. She barely slept. She barely ate. She moved through the office like a storm contained in human form. The night before the meeting, Adrian found her in the conference room at 2 a.m, staring at a wall covered in documents connected by red string like something from a detective show. You need to rest, he said. I need to make sure I haven't missed anything. You haven't. We've been over this 100 times. Selena didn't turn around. What if it's not enough? What if Morrison's testimony isn't admissible? What if David and Marcus have lawyers who find a loophole? Then we adapt. But worrying about it at 2 a.m. won't change anything. I can't lose this, Adrian. If they walk away, if they get to live their lives while my father is dead, her voice cracked. I can't let that happen. Adrian walked over and stood beside her. You won't, because you have the truth. And the truth is bigger than their lies. That's naive. Maybe, but it's also all we've got. Selena finally looked at him. Her eyes were red-rimmed, exhausted. Why are you still here? What do you mean? You could have walked away. You could have taken Lily and disappeared. No one would have blamed you. But you stayed. Why? Adrian thought about that question. He'd been asking himself the same thing for weeks. Because you stayed with me that night, he said finally. When I found you in this office. You could have had me fired, could have made my life hell for seeing you vulnerable. But you didn't. You gave me a chance. So I'm giving you one back. Selena's expression softened. That's not the same thing. Isn't it? We both saw each other at our worst. We both chose not to run. That has to mean something. She was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, After this is over, after we finish what my father started, I don't know what happens next. What do you want to happen? I don't know. For 6 years, all I've done is work. Build the company, prove myself, stay ahead of everyone trying to tear me down. I don't know how to be anything else. Well, then maybe it's time to figure it out. Selena almost smiled. You make it sound simple. It's not, but nothing worthwhile ever is. She turned back to the wall of evidence. Go home. Adrian, get some sleep. Tomorrow's going to be brutal. What about you? I'll sleep when it's done. Adrian knew better than to argue. He left her there, surrounded by the ghosts of her father's investigation and her own unfinished grief. The morning of the shareholder meeting, Adrian dressed in the best suit he owned, a thrift store find that almost fit, and met Selena in her office. She was already in full armor, black suit, hair pulled back so tight it looked painful, makeup that made her look like she hadn't cried in years. The woman who'd broken down in this office 2 months ago was gone. In her place was the billionaire CEO the world expected. "Ready?" she asked. "No. You?" "Not even close." She picked up a folder thick with documents. "But we're doing it anyway." The boardroom was on the top floor, a massive space with windows on 3 sides and a table that could seat 40 people. The shareholders were already gathering when they arrived. Adrian recognized some of them from news articles: hedge fund managers, venture capitalists, old money families who'd been invested in Vaughn Media since Selena's grandfather founded it. They looked at Selena with a mixture of respect and wariness. David Chen was there too, sitting near the middle of the table, looking calm. Marcus wasn't. His lawyers had advised him not to attend, citing the ongoing investigation. Richard was still in custody, awaiting trial. Monica stood at the front of the room with 2 federal investigators and a stenographer. This wasn't just a shareholder meeting. It was a deposition, a trial, a reckoning. Selena took her seat at the head of the table. Adrian sat beside her, trying not to look as terrified as he felt. "Thank you all for coming," Selena began. Her voice was steady, cold. "I know you're wondering why I called this emergency meeting. I'll be direct. For the past 6 years, this company has been the victim of systematic fraud. $18 million has been stolen through a network of offshore accounts and shell companies. The person primarily responsible, Richard Kane, is currently in federal custody, but he didn't act alone." The room went silent. "My father, Jonathan Vaughn, discovered this fraud 6 years ago. He hired a private investigator to gather evidence. Before that investigation could be completed, my father died. The official cause was a heart attack. But I now have reason to believe his death was not natural, and I believe the people who killed him are in this room." Someone gasped. Others shifted in their seats. David Chen's face didn't change. Selena nodded to Monica, who stood. "We have testimony from Thomas Morrison, the investigator Jonathan Vaughn hired," Monica said. "Mr. Morrison has provided a sworn statement detailing what he discovered before Mr. Vaughn's death. According to his investigation, 3 individuals were involved in the fraud: Richard Kane, Marcus Webb, and David Chen." All eyes turned to David. He stood slowly. "This is absurd. I've worked for this company for 15 years. I was Jonathan's friend. I would never... Sit down, David," Selena said. "I will not be accused of murder based on the testimony of some investigator who ran away and hid for 6 years. Sit down." Something in her voice made him stop. He sat. Selena opened her folder and pulled out a document. "This is an email sent from Richard Kane to Marcus Webb 3 days before my father died. It says, and I quote, 'The old man's getting too close. We need to handle this before he ruins everything.' Marcus replied, 'David's working on it. Give him 48 hours. The room erupted, shareholders talking over each other, demanding explanations. Monica raised her hand for silence. "We also have financial records showing that David Chen authorized the purchase of a substance called potassium chloride 2 weeks before Jonathan Vaughn's death," Monica continued. "Potassium chloride, when injected in sufficient quantities, can cause cardiac arrest. It's difficult to detect in an autopsy because it's naturally present in the body." David's face had gone white. "That's circumstantial. You can't prove—" "We can," Selena said, "because we exhumed my father's body." The room went dead silent. "Last week, with a court order, we had my father's remains examined by a forensic pathologist. They found puncture marks on his left arm, consistent with injection. They also found elevated levels of potassium chloride in the tissue samples, levels inconsistent with natural cardiac arrest." Selena's voice was shaking now, but she pushed through. "Selena's tit. My father was murdered, and you helped do it." David stood again. "You can't prove I administered anything." "You're right, We can't prove you personally injected him, but we can prove you purchased the substance. We can prove you had access to his office. We can prove you were alone with him the day he died. And we can prove you've been covering it up for 6 years while stealing from the company he built. One of the federal investigators stepped forward. David Chen, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud, and as a person of interest in the death of Jonathan Vaughn, you have the right to remain silent. This is a mistake, David said, but his voice was hollow. I didn't kill him. I just looked the other way. Marcus said it would be quick. He said Jonathan wouldn't suffer. Stop talking, his lawyer hissed. But David kept going, the words spilling out like he'd been holding them for too long. I didn't know Marcus was going to kill him. I thought we'd just scare him off the investigation. But then Jonathan collapsed and Marcus told me it was done, that we were in too deep to back out, that if I said anything, I'd go down with them. The investigator was putting handcuffs on him now. David looked at Selena with something like desperation. I'm sorry, he said. I know that doesn't mean anything, but I am. Your father was a good man. He deserved better. Yes, Selena said. He did. They took David away. The shareholders sat in stunned silence. Finally, one of them, an older woman with white hair and sharp eyes, spoke up. What about Marcus Webb? Marcus has been arrested, Monica said. Federal agents picked him up this morning. He's being charged with conspiracy to commit murder, fraud, and a dozen other counts. He'll spend the rest of his life in prison. The woman nodded. And the company? How do we recover from this? Selena stood. We rebuild. We implement new oversight, new protocols. We make sure this never happens again. And we honor my father's legacy by being the company he believed we could be. Another shareholder raised his hand. With all due respect, Selena, this happened on your watch. How do we know you're the right person to lead us forward? The question hung in the air. Adrian watched Selena's face, waiting to see if she'd falter. She didn't. You don't, she said simply. You don't know if I'm the right person, and I don't know either. What I do know is that I've spent 6 years carrying this company forward while 3 people I trusted were trying to destroy it from the inside. I've made mistakes. I've been blind to things I should have seen, but I'm still here and I'm not giving up. The room was quiet. If you want to vote me out, Selena continued. But know this, I will spend every remaining day I have making sure my father's killers pay for what they did. And I will make sure this company becomes something he would be proud of, with or without your support. The older woman smiled. I think you've earned our support, at least for now. Others around the table nodded in agreement. The meeting ended an hour later. The shareholders filed out, talking in hushed voices. Adrian stayed in his seat while Selena stood at the window, staring out at the city. You did it, he said. We did it. How do you feel? Selena was quiet for a long time. Empty. I thought I'd feel relieved or vindicated, but I just feel tired. That's normal. Is it? I think so. You've been running on rage and adrenaline for weeks. Now that it's over, there's nothing left to push against. He said. Selena turned to look at him. It's not over. There's still the trial, the media coverage, the rebuilding. But the hardest part is done. You found the truth. You exposed them. Your father can rest now. Her eyes filled with tears. She blinked them away. I miss him. I know. I spent 6 years being angry at the world for taking him, and now I know it wasn't the world. It was 3 men who valued money more than his life, and I don't know how to live with that. Adrian stood and walked over to her. You live with it the same way you've lived with everything else. One day at a time, one choice at a time. You let yourself grieve, and then you let yourself heal. I don't know how to do that. Neither did I, but I learned, and you will too. Selena looked at him, really looked, like she was seeing him for the first time. I don't deserve you. That's not how this works. How does it work? I don't know, but I think we figure it out together. But something shifted in her expression. Adrian? The door opened. Monica stepped in. Sorry to interrupt. The FBI wants a formal statement from both of you. They're downstairs. Selena nodded. We'll be right down. Monica left. Come on, Selena said. Let's finish this. The FBI took their statements over the next 3 hours. Adrian recounted how he'd found the evidence, how they'd tracked down Morrison, how everything had unraveled. Selena provided timeline details, financial records, everything the prosecutors would need to build their case. By the time they were done, it was dark outside. Adrian checked his phone. Lily had texted him, Mrs. Cho says we can come home now. Is that true? He showed the message to Selena. The reporters are gone, she said. Marcus is in custody. You're safe to go back. What about you? I'll stay at my apartment. I'm having the security upgraded. Alone? I've been alone for 6 years. I'm used to it. Adrian looked at her, this woman who'd built walls so high no one could climb them, who'd spent years protecting herself from everyone around her, who still didn't know how to let people close. You don't have to be, he said. Selena met his eyes. I don't know how to be anything else. Then learn. Start small. Have dinner with someone. Let someone see you without the armor. Let yourself be human. Is that what you did? After your wife died? Eventually. It took me a long time. Too long, probably. But I figured out that being alone forever wasn't protecting me. It was just making me smaller. Selena was quiet. Then she said, Will you have dinner with me tomorrow night? Just dinner? Yeah. Just dinner? No work? No crisis. Just 2 people eating food and talking. Adrian smiled. I'd like that. He went back to his apartment that night. Mrs. Cho was waiting with Lily, both of them watching a cooking show. Lily jumped up when he walked in. Dad, are the bad guys gone? Yeah, kiddo, they're gone. Forever? For a very long time. Lily hugged him hard. I was scared. I know. I'm sorry. It's okay. Mrs. Cho said you were being brave. Were you? Adrian thought about that. I was trying to be. That's the same thing. Mrs. Cho stood. I'll leave you 2 alone. But Adrian, you did good. Whatever happened, you did the right thing. Thank you for everything. That's what neighbors are for. She left. Adrian sat on the couch with Lily and let her tell him everything he'd missed. A math test she'd aced, a drawing she'd made, a new book she wanted. Normal things, small things. The kind of things that mattered more than anything else in the world. Later, after Lily had gone to bed, Adrian stood at the window and looked out at the city. Somewhere out there, Selena was probably still awake, probably still working, probably still trying to outrun the grief that had been chasing her for 6 years. But maybe, just maybe, she was starting to realize she didn't have to run alone anymore. The next night, Adrian met Selena at a small Italian restaurant in Brooklyn. It was the kind of place with red checkered tablecloths and candles and wine bottles and a waiter who called everyone sweetheart. Selena looked out of place in her designer dress. Selena. But she also looked more relaxed than Adrian had ever seen her. I've never been here before, she said, looking around. It's not fancy. I know. I like it. They ordered food. They talked about everything except work. Lily's school, Selena's childhood, movies they'd seen, places they wanted to visit. It was strange and awkward and wonderful. I don't know how to do this, Selena admitted halfway through the meal. Normal conversation, normal life. I've been in survival mode for so long I forgot what anything else feels like. You're doing fine. I'm not. I'm terrible at this. So? Being terrible at something just means you have room to get better. Selena laughed. Actually laughed. When did you become an optimist? I'm not. I'm a realist who's too tired to be cynical anymore. That might be the most honest thing anyone's ever said to me. They finished dinner and walked through Brooklyn. The streets were quiet, the air cold but not bitter. Selena pulled her coat tighter. Thank you, she said. For tonight. For everything. You don't have to thank me, Issy. Yes, I do, because you've given me something I didn't know I needed. What's that? Hope that maybe I can be something other than what I've been. That maybe there's a life beyond the office and the fight and the constant need to prove myself. Adrian stopped walking. Can I tell you something? Of course. You don't have to prove yourself. Not to me, not to anyone. You're enough exactly as you are, messy and scared and human. That's not weakness. That's just what being alive looks like. Selena's eyes filled with tears. I spent my whole life buying loyalty, power, control, because I thought that's what safety was. But it's not. Is it? No. Safety is trusting someone enough to let them see you break, and knowing they'll stay anyway. Like you did. Like you did first. They stood there on the sidewalk, two people who'd found each other in the wreckage of their separate griefs, and somehow built something that felt like home. What happens now? Selena asked. I don't know, but I think we figure it out together. I'd like that. They walked back to the restaurant where Adrian's car was parked. Before he got in, Selena caught his hand. I'm going to step back, she said, from the company. Not completely, but I'm delegating more. Hiring people I actually trust. Building a life that isn't just work. Good. And I want you in it, you and Lily, if you'll have me. Adrian smiled. We'll have you. I'm not easy to be around. I'm controlling and demanding, and I don't know how to relax. I know. I don't care. You should. Probably, but I don't. Selena kissed him. It was soft and tentative and real. When they pulled apart, she was crying. I don't know how to do this, she whispered. Neither do I. But we'll learn. 6 months later, Selena bought a house. Not a mansion, not a penthouse. A house. An old Victorian on the outskirts of the city, with a yard and a porch and enough space for a family. She didn't tell Adrian about it until the day she brought him and Lily to see it. What is this? Adrian asked as they pulled up. It's a house. I can see that. Why are we here? Selena parked and turned to look at him. Because I want you to live in it. With me. If you want to. Lily, who'd been quiet in the back seat, suddenly spoke up. Is this like when Prince Charming asked the princess to marry him? Selena laughed. Not quite, but close. Adrian stared at her. Selena, yeah, I know it's fast. I know we've only been together 6 months, but I also know that I don't want to spend another day pretending I'm fine on my own. I'm not fine. I'm better with you, both of you. She looked at Lily. If that's okay with you. Lily grinned. Do I get my own room? You get the biggest room in the house. Then it's okay with me. Adrian felt like his chest might explode. You're serious. Completely. I bought the house last week. It's ours if you want it. Yes. What about the company? I hired a co-CEO. Someone smart and ruthless who loves the job more than I do. I'm staying on the board, but I'm not running the day-to-day anymore. Why? Because I realized something. My father didn't build that company so I could sacrifice my life for it. He built it so I could have a life. And I finally understand what he meant. Adrian looked at the house. Sunlight on the windows, leaves in the yard, a swing hanging from the big oak tree in front. It looked like something from a dream. Is there a pool? Lily asked. Selena smiled. Not yet, but we can build one. Then I'm definitely in. Adrian got out of the car, walked up to the porch, stood there looking at the door. Selena followed him. You don't have to decide now. Take time. Think about it. Yes, Adrian said. Yes? Yes. We'll move in. We'll build a life here. We'll figure it out as we go. He turned to her. But I have one condition. What's that? Marry me first. Selena's breath caught. What? Adrian pulled a small box from his pocket. Nothing fancy, just a simple ring he'd bought 3 weeks ago and been carrying around waiting for the right moment. This felt like the right moment. I'm not doing this because you bought a house. I'm doing this because I love you, because you're the bravest person I know, because you make me want to be better, and because I want to spend the rest of my life proving to you that you don't have to face anything alone ever again. Selena was crying now, full tears streaming down her face. That's not fair. I'm supposed to be the one making grand gestures. Too bad. I beat you to it. I don't deserve you. Stop saying that. You deserve everything. You deserve happiness and peace and a family that loves you. And if you'll let me, I'd like to be part of giving you that. Lily had gotten out of the car and was watching them with wide eyes. Is this the part where she says yes? Selena laughed through her tears. Yes, this is that part. She took the ring, put it on, kissed Adrian like the world was ending and beginning at the same time. Lily cheered. And for the first time in 6 years, Selena felt like maybe, just maybe, she was allowed to be happy. They moved into the house a month later. It was chaos, boxes everywhere, furniture that didn't quite fit, paint colors they argued about and then laughed about later. But it was theirs, a space they built together filled with noise and mess and life. Lily loved her room. She filled it with books and stuffed animals and drawings of their new family. Adrian, Selena, and her, all holding hands under a tree. Selena learned how to cook, badly at first, then slightly less badly. She learned how to sit through a movie without checking her phone. She learned how to play board games and lose gracefully and be okay with not being in control all the time. Adrian learned how to let someone help him, how to accept love without feeling like he had to earn it, how to build a life that wasn't just about survival. And somewhere in all of that, they became what neither of them thought they'd ever be again, a family. 3 months after they moved in, on a Saturday morning in early spring, Adrian woke up to find Selena sitting on the back porch with coffee, watching the sun rise. He sat beside her. "You okay?" "Yeah, I was just thinking." "About what?" "About my father. About how he'd have loved this, you, Lily, this house. He always said I worked too hard, that I needed to find something worth living for beyond the company." She smiled. "I think I finally understand what he meant. He'd be proud of you." "Maybe. Or maybe he'd say it took me long enough to figure it out." Adrian laughed. "Probably both." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the light change. "I used to think strength meant never breaking," Selena said quietly. "Never showing weakness. Never letting anyone see the parts of me that were scared or uncertain. But that's not strength. That's just fear dressed up as power. What's strength then?" "Strength is letting someone see you broken and trusting they won't leave. Strength is asking for help when you need it. Strength is admitting you can't do it alone." She looked at him. "You taught me that. You already knew it. You just needed permission to believe it." Selena rested her head on his shoulder. "Thank you. For staying. For not giving up on me when I gave you every reason to. Thank you for crying in your office that night. For being human enough to break. For letting me see that the most powerful person I knew was also just a person." They sat there until Lily came outside, still in her pajamas, demanding pancakes. Adrian got up to make breakfast while Selena and Lily stayed on the porch, talking about nothing important, what to plant in the garden, whether they should get a dog, what color to paint the fence, and watching them from the kitchen window, Adrian realized something that had taken him years to understand. You don't save people from their grief. You just stand beside them while they figure out how to carry it. And sometimes, if you're lucky, they stand beside you too. The truth was, neither of them had saved the other. They'd just chosen not to face their brokenness alone. And that choice, that small, terrifying, beautiful choice, had made all the difference. Years from now, Lily would ask how they fell in love. And they'd tell her the truth, that it started with kindness in a moment of crisis, grew through trust in the middle of a war, and became real when they both stopped pretending they didn't need someone to lean on. They'd tell her that love isn't finding someone perfect. It's finding someone willing to be imperfect with you. Someone who sees your mess and doesn't run. Someone who stands in the wreckage and says, "Let's build something better." But that conversation was years away. For now, there were pancakes to make and a garden to plant and a life to build. For now, there was just this. Morning light on the porch, coffee cooling in their cups, and the sound of Lily's laughter mixing with Selena's. For now, there was home, and that was more than enough.